Hey there. I was going to give a speech this morning about statutory duty of care in universities. It was a Westminster Hall debate, which is one of the side areas that we can have conversations in the House of Commons and have debates. But unfortunately, because of time constraints, I didn't get picked. So I figured, it's really disappointing though. I've made this speech. What am I going to do with it? I don't want to see it go to waste. So I figured I would just deliver it right here in front of a video, Fireside, for a change. So bear with me. I'd have started by saying thank you to the chair and that it was a pleasure to serve under their chairship if I'd been picked. But I also wanted to thank my honourable friend James Naish, who's the member for Rushcliffe. He was the one who secured this important debate. And I also want to draw everybody's attention to my register of interests. It's important that I do that as the chair of the all-party Parliamentary Universities Group and also a member of and former workplace rep for the University and Colleges Union, UCU. I also continue to hold a post at the University of Nottingham as an honorary unpaid associate professor, which is where I worked prior to becoming a member of Parliament. We all want our universities to be safe, inclusive and supportive places where students can thrive academically and personally. The issue we're discussing this morning is not whether universities have a responsibility towards their students, plainly they do, but whether it's right to introduce a new overarching statutory duty of care and whether that's the right mechanism to achieve better outcomes. Universities UK has been clear that higher education providers already operate within a substantial legal framework. Universities owe a general duty of care not to cause harm through careless acts or omissions alongside specific duties under contract law, health and safety legislation, the Equality Act and the Human Rights Act. Taken together, those duties already require institutions to act reasonably, proportionally and lawfully in protecting student welfare. We must also be honest about the nature of the university environment. Universities educate adults, not children. Many institutions have student populations comparable to small towns, often dispersed over wide geographical areas and overwhelmingly living beyond direct university control. Around a quarter of students commute from home, many more live in private rented accommodation or halls of residence, and only a minority live in university managed accommodation. Universities are therefore very different from schools, custodial settings or healthcare environments, and they certainly don't work in loco parentis. Imposing a statutory duty that implies a level of control universities don't and can't possess would risk being disproportionate and potentially counterproductive. There's also a risk highlighted by Universities UK that a compliance-led statutory approach could drive a defensive practice rather than the open cultures of trust, disclosure and co-production we need for effective prevention and early intervention. We should be wary of regulations that encourage box ticking rather than genuinely supportive relationships. I also want to underline my own scepticism about a statutory duty shouldn't translate into allowing complacency on the part of universities. UCU, the University and Colleges Union, rightly highlight that there are real accountability gaps and profound resource pressures across the university sector. Mental health services for students are often overstretched with long waiting lists, and universities are increasingly expected to compensate for services generally provided by the National Health Service, which I think we all agree is overburdened. And the previous Conservative government's extensive cuts to student support certainly didn't help either. Additionally, any new legal duty, if introduced without proper funding, would almost certainly increase workloads for academic and professional staff, many of whom are already operating under unsafe workload models and insecure contracts. There is a genuine danger that responsibility for managing complex risks to student well-being would be displaced onto individual staff members, rather than being addressed systemically and properly resourced. UCU also highlights the legal complexity of working with adult students. Issues of consent, confidentiality, data protection, and family involvement are already very finely balanced. Without clear national guidance and investment, a statutory duty could lead to inconsistency, overreach, and defensive decision-making, none of which serves students or staff well. To conclude, I believe that we should focus predominantly on strengthening and enforcing existing duties before bringing in a new statutory duty, investing properly in student mental health and support services, providing appropriate student support, and tackling the systemic drivers of harm. Safer universities will not be delivered by legislation alone, but by culture change, adequate funding, and collective responsibility across government, institutions, and society. That's the speech I would have made if I'd have been picked to speak in the debate this morning, and I will send a link around in the description to the whole rest of the debate so you can check it out. It was really interesting, some really moving stories about constituents of various of my colleagues who had gone through the most horrific things, and a really fascinating and important debate. So please do join in and let me know in the comments what you think of the whole conversation and where you stand on whether or not universities should have a statutory duty to provide the support.